that point, Officer Hunt shows up in his squad car.
𝘁𝗵𝗿𝗲𝗁 had just turned 18 years of age. He was several days away from enlisting in the United States Navy. And at around 2 a.m., he was on his way home. He had been with his girlfriend, and he was hitching a ride back home toward Exeter.
His hopes for a quick ride home are fading fast.
It's late at night. It's not the easiest thing to get a ride at 2 a.m. He's alone on the road when he sees something incredible.
This was some kind of a light off in the distance. He was very familiar with this area. He knew that this was a light that shouldn't have been there. He knew that that light was somewhat suspicious, although he didn't pay much mind to it.
It's getting late. Norman feels his eyes are starting to play tricks on him. And with more than 10 kilometers to go until he reaches town, he's not catching any breaks.
Who would pick up a person at 2 o'clock in the morning?
In nearby Exeter, veteran officer 𝘁𝗵𝗿𝗁 returns from doing his rounds.
𝘁𝗵𝗿𝗁 was a police officer at Exeter, New Hampshire. He'd been on the force for a number of years. He'd also been former United States Air Force.
Hey, Bertrand. How's the patrol tonight?
Oh, man, I had a live one tonight. Found this lady pulled over just outside of town. Took 15 minutes to calm her down.
He finds out from her that she had been pursued, as she said, by a large, red, low UFO that had actually chased her for several miles down this stretch of road.
One of those nights, huh?
Bertrand was skeptical. The officers he talked to about it probably all got a good laugh out of it.
On the outskirts of town, still 8 kilometers away, Norman again notices a strange light in the distance. Except now, there are 4 more.
These lights were very unusual in their pattern. They were red lights, and they would go in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 pattern.
This was certainly no aircraft that he was looking at. He was sure of that.
There's no known aircraft that the United States Air Force flies or any commercial airliner uses that has that type of a pattern. 𝘁𝗵𝗿𝗁 sees this pattern of lights rise and come in his direction. He had this very strong sense they were aware of him.
He sees a light in the distance that very suddenly comes towards him.
He dives to the ground because he's afraid that he's going to get hit.
He was fearing for his life.
He sees it, it's moving off, and the next thing, it's just lost to view. Norman is very worked up at this point, and he's highly agitated.
Had to get into town. He desperately wanted to get to the police department. He sees lights coming over the hill. He dashes to the road, and he thought, I'm going to stop this car one way or the other.
Stop! 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 Take me to the nearest police station.
And they drive him to the police station. This is a town where everyone knew everyone, and the police force was just a handful of cops.
There was something on the road.
𝘁𝗵𝗿𝗁 was just talking a mile a minute about having seen this incredible, terrifying UFO that had nearly practically attacked him. And now the police officers, having had one previous UFO report from earlier in the evening, they were prepared to listen to him.
Do you remember where it happened?
Sure do.
Hunt, I'll call you on the radio.
At this point, it's not that the cops thought, oh, my goodness, we have flying saucers here. But they were at least at the point willing to consider that there was something going on that was worthy of investigation.
This was not the last that Norman saw of this craft. He never could have dreamt that he would have 2 UFO experiences in the same night. The officer took his flashlight and kind of panned the field, and suddenly, this large object
That's it?
with red flashing lights rose up.
What in God's name is that?
Bertrand was very shocked. He picks up the radio and says, "I see the damn thing myself."
I repeat, object in view.
The dispatcher summoned Officer Hunt to get to the scene.
Officer Bertrand was not expecting to see what he now saw. As it got closer, they thought they could see an outline of the object. No detail, but a shape. It seemed to be round and have a diameter of roughly 45 feet or so, roughly the size of a barn. 𝗫𝗵𝗿𝗲 knew that this was the same object, and the terror came back immediately to him. This object kept coming and coming and coming at them.
Officer Bertrand actually draws his gun.
I will shoot!
And in fact, he's so agitated, he's practically screaming, "I'll shoot it, I'll shoot it." This is really intense. You're only gonna pull your gun if you need it or if you mean to use it.
But the object begins to retreat.
He thinks better of it and doesn't fire his weapon.
At that point, Officer Hunt shows up in his squad car.
Even though Hunt arrived as this thing was leaving, it was still odd enough to him that he could tell this was unlike anything he had ever seen.
Okay, Bertrand, what's this about a UFO?
The object moved off and then eventually vanished off in the direction of Hampton.
They don't go after it because there's no point. There's no way that they can keep up with it.
Officer Bertrand, Exeter Station. Be advised, Hampton PD is reporting a UFO sighting over their location. Exeter, over and out.
You've got at least 5 people seeing this object from different vantage points, different locations, all describing it in totally consistent manner. 2 of those witnesses were police officers who are, I would say, unusually good witnesses. They're trained observers, and they were trained to be detached and objective in what they see.
But for Norman, the sighting takes its toll.
Norman said that he still had dreams, he had trouble sleeping at times, and this was something that greatly affected him.